Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Maria. I am a Romanian knitter who lives and knit in Norway for almost 3 years now. And welcome to a very special episode about Dagmar Sweater. As I promised, I will make shorter episodes about my finished objects one by one. And today it is Dagmar Sweater day. I finished this project 2 days ago and I've already worn this. I will hurry up a little bit because it's quite warm today and wearing a worsted pure wool sweater now it's not the best idea. Let's start with the yarn. So I've used Rauma Fivel, and this is a Norwegian lamb's wool by Rauma. This comes in balls of 50 grams, 100 meters, and it is recommended to be knitted with needles in between 4 and 5 millimeter. For the Dagmar sweater, I didn't gauge swatch. I never gauge swatch, you already know that. And I've used the same needles as the pattern recommends, which were 4.5 millimeter. When I decided to make this sweater, I thought a lot about what size I should make because the pattern recommends to work this sweater with approximately 26 centimeters of extra positives. This is something I did not want for me. Instead, I went to the size 2. Size 2, it should give me 111 centimeters circumference bust. My circumference bust is 106 centimeters. And I thought, you know what, 5 centimeters are more than enough. I knew from the beginning that I want to make this sweater a little bit more cropped than the actual pattern it says. And I did it. And I'm happy for my decision, although I have to admit that until wearing this, I was really not sure if this was the smartest idea to do. But now, after wearing this, I think it was a very good idea. So, again, I've made size 2. Now, this is a top-down drop shoulder construction. You start with less stitches at the back and you increase on every row at the beginning, at the end also, and then you continue straight. Now, my first modification, because I've made 3 modifications, my first one was to make the back shorter with, I think, approximately 5 centimeters, which gave me, in the end, a shorter back, even comparing with the size 1. But I knew that this pattern has a deep yoke, and that's not my favorite thing in a garment, knitted garment. And I knew I need to modify this. Then, when I work the shoulders and join for the front piece, I suddenly realized that I need to add those 5 centimeters that I took from the back part, to add them to the front. And I did that because if not, the sweater would not have fit properly. Of course, there was a risk. There was a risk by the moment I decided to modify the yoke. But it was something that I assumed, and I thought, okay, if it won't work, the worst thing that will happen is to unravel, and that's it. So nothing like the end of the world, right? And in the end, it worked perfect. And I'm happy. I trust my knitting instincts. And this is something I do a lot lately. And this way I end up with a garment that will fit as I want or need. So this was the first modification. Then, of course, I work the body shorter. I've made the same hem, the same length, and of course, I've made my tubular, the method I prefer as a tubular bind off. Now, regarding the sleeves, while working the body, I was thinking about the sleeves, and this sweater, along with the deep yoke, has also more voluminous sleeves. And again, this is not something I like. And I think overall this sweater has a, I don't know if 70s, 80s, 90s look, something like that. It's a boxy fit, but I did not want quite that look of the sweater. And I thought, okay, maybe I should pick up the stitches from the smallest size for the sleeves. But when I reached the sleeves, I realized that the difference in between size 1 and size 2, the one that I was knitting, was just 2 stitches on the sleeves. And I thought, you know what, 2 stitches, they don't mean nothing for this sleeve. And I said, okay, let's pick up the number of stitches that the pattern says and see from there what can I do. What I did is to make just 3 extra stitches, decreases, 3 extra decreases. So in the end, I end up with 6 less stitches than the math in the pattern. And 6 stitches, it might not seem so much, but in centimeters, those 6 stitches are 3 centimeters. When I was halfway through the second sleeve, I realized, not even half through, I was at the beginning, I realized that it would have been so easy to pick up less stitches because this panel has so many sand stitches, stitches that you work in sand stitch. And it would have been so easy to pick up less stitches and to have this panel in sand stitch smaller with less stitches, and this way the cable panels won't be affected. Why I didn't realize this from the beginning, I don't know. I just don't know. I just felt so silly when I realized this, but it was just, yeah, my heart was not prepared to unravel the first sleeve and to redone it. In my mind, I was so close to finish this sweater. And also I kept trying on and I thought, you know what, it doesn't look bad. And my worry was that because my yoke was not that deep, it will look different because I don't have the same depth in yoke, but I have the same numbers of stitches when you pick up for the sleeves. And I thought this will be wider than my opening here. It isn't. And even if it is just a tiny, tiny visual difference, it's not that visual once you're wearing this sweater. So take in mind, if you think about to have less stitches, just pick up less stitches because you have this panel here that it allows you, I will dare to say even helps you to pick up less stitches. For my own preference, I think I would have loved with 8 stitches less than the pattern said for my size. But it's done and it's looking good, and there's no reason to stress because I didn't do that modification. In the end, it turned out wonderful. I really think this. And that's that in terms of sleeves. Now, my last modification was for the neckline. Of course, I like very much how the turtleneck is looking, but I know it's not something for me since I don't stand things right on my neck. Instead, I've made a double folded neckline, but I added short rows at the neckline, and I had only 4 German short rows. Well, 4, in my mind there is always 8 because there is no, you cannot count just the front rows, you know. In my mind is that I need to go back on the back also. So for me, 1 row on the front, 1 row on the back. Yeah, it's silly, but this is how my mind wants to explain this. So I added short rows, and I think it's making a huge difference in the end because this part here at the front, it is not that high as the back, and it's looking very good in my opinion. And I'm very happy I've done this. Overall, I am so happy with this pattern. It was such a joy to knit. The charts are very easy to memorize, so it was already when I was working the shoulders, I didn't check the chart, and that was very nice because it saved me time to stop every time and to look at the chart. The color I've used for my sweater is 415, and initially I had just 400 grams, I mean 8 balls. And when I started the second sleeve, I realized, because I knew I need 2 balls for each sleeve, I knew I don't have enough. And I was so lucky to go to one store in Bergen and to buy another one exactly the same dye lot. And it's crazy because I got the rest of it from another store in November, and now I got it this last ball a few days ago from another store 6 months later, and still found the same dye lot, which says a lot about Aroma. I do recommend this yarn. It is a pleasure to knit if you are into the rustic yarns. A pleasure to knit. I think it's so great for texture and cables, but also for stockinette stitch, and I'm sure it's perfect for color work. This is something I will need to try in the future. And I like how the yarn looks after washing. It don't grow on washing unless you pull the garment, as I did, because I wanted to open this very well, this honeycomb cable panel, which is also at the back. What can I say? It's not a difficult pattern, even if you are a beginner. I think it's very accessible as in terms of understanding how to work this. I think she has done such a great job with this pattern. It's so easy to follow. It's very well explained, and yeah, I feel it holds your hand throughout the process of knitting this sweater. Very happy with this project. I'm so happy, and you know, if you saw my previous episodes, you know that I always talk about how the garment is growing after washing and when you begin to wear this is a perfect example, because when I put this the first time on me, it was a little bit more fitted, even the sleeves. But now with wearing the sweater, just relax the sleeves also. And yeah, I am so happy I did size 2. I had my ups and downs when working this and trying on, thinking that maybe it was not the best idea to choose size 2. Maybe a size 3 would have been best. But after wearing this a couple of times, yeah, a couple of times, because I wore this also yesterday, this relaxed so much. And now I know for sure that size 3 would not give me the same feeling wearing this sweater with the dresses, because this is especially made for my dresses. And yeah, again, I'm so happy I've decided to make this pattern. It's probably one of the most wonderful patterns from Petite Knit, and it's just unbelievable how simple it is, but how sophisticated it looks with all these little panels of cables. And with, maybe for somebody who's not knitting, is thinking that, oh my, this is so complicated to make. It's not. And this is, I think, the beauty of knitting. And yeah, it's wonderful how things that are looking so complicated are actually maybe the easiest. In my opinion, of course. You don't need to be agree with me. You don't need to agree with me. But overall, again, I'm repeating, I'm so happy with the pattern, with the size I've choose, with the yarn I decide to use. And I'm so happy that even if I didn't gauge swatch, I followed my knitting instincts, and I end up with just exactly what I was dreaming from this project. And I know this will get so much wear with my dresses. I know for sure it will be a favorite. And I see myself knitting this again in the same yarn, in a different color in the future. Who knows? But this is definitely a pattern that I will love to go back in time. Yes, Dagmar Sweater is in my wardrobe now, ready to wear, to be worn whenever I need. And I felt so great wearing this. This morning we went in Bergen, me and my husband, and it was so quiet, no tourists. And we took some pictures and some videos for us, and some that you might already saw here. And he was keep telling me, you have knitted such a wonderful sweater. This is looking like store-bought. You cannot say that this is handmade. But also he said, but at the same time it feels different, but in a good way. Yeah, so if he, who's not a knitter and has nothing to do with knitting, a part of the fact that has a wife that is knitting, so this, yeah, tells me everything I need to know about how wonderful is to be able to make your own garments. Yes, so happy. So this was my experience with Dagmar. Wonderful project, totally recommended. I will link the Ravelry below, because this project, it is listed on Ravelry, on my Ravelry, and with all the details you need. But if you want to know more, or maybe I omitted something to say about it, you can DM me on Instagram. You can find me as a Romanian eater in Norway, or on Ravelry, or here on YouTube as a comment, and I will be more than happy to answer you. Yes, I think that's all for the Dagmar. Thank you so much if you have stayed with me until the end. And until next time, take care and knit whatever you like. It doesn't matter what others says, it matters how you feel about it. And that's it. I will see you next time. Bye bye.